What's up, residents? Alistair back once again, here to talk about objectively the best Godzilla film. I'm obviously joking, this is obviously the best Godzilla film. But in all seriousness, we're going to dive into more history revolving around the Godzilla 1998 film, and break down something that most of you probably forgot existed. When you think of Godzilla multiplayer games, what do you think of? Destroy All Monsters? Godzilla on PS4? Maybe even a side order of Godzilla domination through Game Boy multiplayer link cable? Well, how would you react if I was to tell you there was a seemingly forgotten Godzilla Online game that was released to coincide with the 1998 film's release? More on that in a second. But before we get into it, don't forget to check out our brand new merch store over on Teespring, where you can get all sorts of items like t-shirts, hoodies, stickers and phone cases. Here I am elegantly demonstrating the God of the Titans line of clothing, where there's a picture of everyone's favourite monster proudly displayed on the back. And here's Jacob and I sporting the Medallion of Titans line of clothing. I recommend the sweatshirt because it's super cozy. Check it out for yourself on Teespring, link will be in the description. So take a look around, maybe even grab something for yourself, or don't, we'll still love you. Thanks for listening, residents. Now let's get to it. So, Godzilla Online. I wouldn't blame you if you've never heard of it or had simply forgotten about it, because I forgot it existed right up until researching for my latest video on the unmade Godzilla 1998 sequel. So what exactly was it about? Well, it was a free-to-play game designed by MYTHIC Entertainment. Yes, that MYTHIC Entertainment, and later renamed to BioWare Mythic. They were responsible for the creation of such games as Aliens Online, Dark Age of Camelot, Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning, and Dragon Age 2. In 1997, they were contracted to make a multiplayer Godzilla game to release alongside the 1998 film, and would be designed for the Windows 95-based operating system, with its system requirements being a revolutionary DirectX 5, a whopping 16 megabytes of RAM, and a blistering faster 166 MHz Pentium processor, with a massive 40 megabytes of free hard drive space required to install the game. For the online component, it required a 14,400 baud modem, and of course, for any of you old enough to have one of these old dial-up based internet service, expect to hear this before going online. The description of the game goes as such. From Madison Square Garden to the depths of New York City subways, from Midtown Manhattan to Fulton Street Fish Market, Godzilla Online is a massive action-packed adventure, ever-changing, always enthralling, and forever challenging. Developed in collaboration with Dean Devlin, the movie's producer and co-writer, Godzilla Online is an ultimate showdown featuring fast, thrilling, real-time action, 3D game environments, real opponents, team and head-to-head play, and persistent, compelling characters. Did you hear that, folks? They actually have 3D game environments. Truly breathtaking. Though, how did the game actually work? Well, it was a fast-paced action game where the player can choose one of 4 roles, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, and depending on which mode you select, can either work together or against each other. These different roles include the soldier, who carries standard military equipment, and at their disposal, the player would be given the option to use a machine gun with infinite ammo firing in 3-round bursts, a shotgun that holds 10 rounds and deals more damage at a closer range, rocket launcher for massive damage although it has low ammo and is a slow-moving projectile, hand grenade dealing a considerate amount of damage though is tricky to throw, or a CO2-fired grenade for extra range, and finally a proximity mine that the user would place on the ground to deal damage on unsuspecting babyzillas. Another human character was the scientist, who had an air taser dealing a damaging shock to anything it touches, but it drains the battery in the process, a stun baton, essentially a beefed up taser, a pepper spray that deals damage to any enemy that it comes in contact with, a pepper grenade which, when thrown, clouds of pepper spray spew from it, dealing damage to anything near it, and finally, foam, a sticky substance when placed on the ground significantly reduces movement speed of the enemy. And finally, from the humans faction, the Reporter, a non-violent class that attempts to get all the chaos on film as it unfolds, with the camera giving heads-up information to other players on the field. By filming players in action, the Reporter gains rating points, which leads them to eventually leveling up from a Cub Reporter all the way to Anchorman. Now on to the more exciting class, the Baby Godzilla, which stands as the overwhelming force on the field. This class has a bite attack, which is fast but low in damage. a tail whip which stuns the enemy and has a wide range of assault, baby breath which is a projectile-based attack using highly corrosive steam to deal damage to the enemy, though this can only be used a few times. And finally, lunge, a great leap through the air that pins down enemy humans so the baby Godzillas can devour them. There's a variety of fish in the field that the Godzillas can consume for a variety of reasons, with the grey fish restoring health, colourful fish helping baby Zillas evolve and grow larger, faster and stronger. Each class has a different set of ranks that they can achieve, with the soldiers starting at private, going all the way up to general, scientist being able to start as lab assistant and maxing out as lab director, reporter starting as cub reporter to anchorman, and Godzilla starting from baby, maxing out as adolescent. It's unclear whether ranking up actually affected the player's abilities, or whether it was just a way to show off experience to other players. If this was the case, then for a free-to-play game from 1998, that's pretty ahead of its time. But what about game modes? What was there to actually play? There's a handful of matches to choose from: free-for-all, team deathmatch, which are all pretty self-explanatory if you've played any multiplayer game for the past 20 years, as well as more unique takes on modes like capture the flag, which in this game is called Egg Statica, where the enemy team must steal Godzilla's eggs and return them to the base. Escape from New York City is an escape-style match where the players can assume the roles of the baby Godzillas and must eat different kinds of fish in order to evolve to 3 different stages, all whilst the humans must kill the baby Zillas in order to prevent them from evolving. The match is either won by enough baby Zillas escaping or by having the humans kill enough baby Godzillas. And then there's Last Man, which is a life-based mode where each player has 2 lives and must survive in order to be the final one alive in order to win the match. There were also a variety of different maps to play on, each based on specific New York landmarks. These include Madison Square Garden, Fulton Fish Market, and 23rd Street Subway Station, with Manhattan Museum of Art and Wall Street being maps that were added in content updates. These areas were mostly designed as mazes that would eventually lead into a large and open battle area, where either the objective would be, or where the players would duke it out in explosive combat. This little movie tie-in game has fallen into obscurity following its release, with only a few forum posts and images of the product remaining. This blast from the past seems like it was an interesting title, and actually sounds very similar to big-budget multiplayer titles that would come following its release like Team Fortress and Primal Carnage. Even if you never got a chance to play it, hopefully this video gives you an idea what it might have been like. Mythic was unfortunately closed down by EA in 2014, so it's going to be nearly impossible to see anything official about this game ever pop up again. Though thanks to some fans of the game from back in the day, we're able to look back on this odd little title and remember it going forward as part of the franchise's history. What do you think about the game? Would you have liked it, or does it sound like it barely constitutes as a Godzilla game? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget that our brand new line of merch is now available, so please check it out, and maybe there'll be something you like. If you enjoyed this video, then remember to leave a like, so we know what to make more of. And if you haven't already, subscribe and stomp that notification button to become a resident of Dangerville today. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you in the next one.